Did I quit Blue Protocol? I did, man. I'm done. No. But I was talking about with Saint. I was saying earlier in my stream today, I think that game needs more time to cook, chat. I was telling Saint, I think it's actually a good thing. I think that game needs more time to cook. I think some extra months of development will do the. It's the same thing I said in my first video. They did make some changes, but well, I could. He's like, oh, we should do like this in a podcast. We can talk about it. There's a lot of things that I think they could do a lot better on. I think it needs some more time to cook. Do you guys want me to go over it really quickly, or do you want me to just hop into something else? Do you want me to cook on it for a second? You want it? All right, let's cook. What I think is the problem. Okay, again, by the way, just know this is how I am. I always am fair, right? Things that I do like, things that I don't like. Here's the thing. There are 3 things that I think the game needs to do. First, I want to talk about the actual like progression of the game. Okay? Group dungeon content in that game is not the strength of the game. In fact, it's kind of a clusterfuck, right? It feels doing it solo is way more enjoyable than doing it in a group. Doing it in a group feels like a clusterfuck, okay? And it's not, it takes away, it's what I said in the first video. It takes away like the challenge and the fun of the content itself, okay? And the game, what it does is it makes you revisit these same dungeons 7 or 8 or 9 times as you're leveling in the open world version of the game, the open world, but the like free exploration area of the game. And then also the dungeon version of it. And you'll need to do it for like multiple things, right? Like not just getting your weapon, but like for a quest that'll have you go back and back and back and back. And then if you want to get your weapon, you're going to have to like go back and do that thing 3 times, right? You get one of them per dungeon run and you gotta do it 3 times, okay? So it's not the strength of the game. And so what'll happen is as you're progressing the game, it feels like a little grindy doing the same dungeon, which again, isn't the highlight of the game. Okay, and I'll talk about what I think the highlight is. So what I think that they should do and what I want them to focus more on is like, for example, fishing is great. Fishing is actually very fun. But fishing, the only thing you really get out of fishing is like food and gold. And so what I would think would be a lot more fun is you only have to do the dungeon once, but to craft your weapon, maybe you need fish scales. And then instead of just going and grabbing some rocks and the rock has like a RNG chance to proc the rock that you need, you can gather some rocks, go to like a rock guy, like a refinery, and you can do a mini game similar to fishing where you like kind of like carve down the stone, and it's similar to fishing, right? So it's like, and you know, it's balance or something and you fuck it up. Okay, fine. And so you get better at making these stones. And then that you need some, you know, maybe some wood, cutting, fish scales, stones, dungeon material, and it adds to that like nice vibe of the game. That would be a lot better than trying to like basically make people reform the same dungeon, which again, I don't think is the actual strong suit of the game. That's one thing. The second thing that I would say the strong suit of the game is the environment and the vibe of the game. And if the dungeon content isn't particularly that good in a group and it feels grindy, you could get away with by saying, well, the game looks very pretty, it's beautiful, and it's nice in the world. The problem is that there aren't really that many cosmetics in the game, and a lot of the cosmetics are behind like ridiculously low drop chance behind loot boxes, right? They're like 1.2% to get an outfit in general, and it's like $5 a box. Right? And so my point is, if you can't really look nice, right? And the actual activity of like getting your weapons isn't the most engaging right now, I think this game could use a little bit more time to cook. Whether they add more cosmetics, they add more classes, which they are, or they add more dungeon content, or they revisit how you actually go about crafting these things. Because this is already something that I'm seeing. And I think that letting this game cook longer is going to be better. Because I think if it launched like that over here, I don't think it would do very well. I think it would do well for the people that really want to play the game. But as a game that would like be like, oh, this is a really fun game that everyone's playing, I think it would fall off a little fast because it feels. But again, this is just um, my thoughts on the game right now. And so, although some people may really, really, really want to play the game, or they're like, hey, I really want to play this, or why is it getting delayed? I actually think more time with the game would do a lot of good. Okay. I think it would do a lot of good. That's my take on it. That's what I think they should do. I think it needs time. If you release it as is, I think it'll really, really, it'll lead to some people saying like, hey, what is this? That it needs more time. It definitely needs a little bit more time. And that's fine, right? That's fine. More content, more classes, and then you got to revisit how you have to grind about stuff. Because right now, grinding the way that you're grinding isn't particularly fun, right? It's not particularly fun. Isn't it possible that AGS and Bennett will stagger the amount of cosmetics? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea, right? I don't know, but right now, the only skins that you have are two, and they all come through gacha unless you want to get the free skins. And yeah, they just need some more time, right? The game just needs a little bit more time to cook. And again, I think ultimately that's not the end of the world. Like, I'd rather have a game that feels more complete on my launch than a game that feels a little. There's also like 8 mob types in the game, mooks, and like, yeah, needs a little bit more time. TL feels more complete. I don't know. I only played to level 25 in that game. I don't know. Kind of disagree. I'd rather go through the growing points. You might rather go through the growing points, but I'm talking about the game's health overall, right? Because if a game at launch gets more support, they're going to have more funding for the game. They're going to have more time to add updates. They're going to give it more attention. I think a game having a good launch is better for the game's health overall than a game having a so-so launch and then having to really try to garner interest again. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you might want to go through all of it, and you rather have go through that. But I think if the game doesn't do well on launch, that's not good for the longevity of the game, right? It's just not good for your global version of the game, right? It's better that the game comes out in a better state and it's more well received, right? The fact of the matter is, if you look at Diablo 4, they sold so many copies. You know, they made so much money that they have the funding probably to update the game. Whereas BP is a free to play game, and you're going to need people to engage with these systems, and they need to make money, right? For them to actually, you know what, I'm willing to dump a lot of time into developing and taking care of your version. So anyway, that's just my take on the game. You know, at the end of the day, do whatever the fuck you want to do, right?